men's sheds was to give men, usually older retired men, a place to go where they could do their own thing in the company of other men. It was an effort to provide a sense of community for men who felt isolated in retirement because they'd stopped working and thus been cut off from the usual social interaction that work provided. The first men's sheds started appearing in Australia in the 1980s. Now, according to the Australian Men's Shed Association, there are 985 men's sheds around the country, and according to their website, there are men's sheds in New Zealand, Ireland, the UK, Canada, the US, and Scotland. And yes, I know Northern Ireland and Scotland are part of the UK. I'm just telling you what the website says. Now, the footage you're seeing here is from a fantastic video by Bettina Arndt, published a few days ago on this issue, where she went out and interviewed men and women about men's sheds and whether or not women should be allowed. And I'll play some of that footage in a moment, and I'll link to it in the comments below. Firstly, there's been over the years a move by some small number of sheds to allow women and even kids. This article from 2010 states that a men's shed planned at Swansea, New South Wales was called a men's shed but was not gender specific. The vice chairman stated, "Quite a lot of women like to do manual things like woodwork. Kids will be allowed in too. We aim to give kids the opportunity to learn to make things with their hands," Mr. Geary said. In 2016, the Cooktown Men's Shed welcomed women members. The shed secretary, Richard Anderson, said, "In our centre rules, it says everyone is the same. It doesn't matter what breed, creed, race you are. As far as I'm concerned, that allows women," he said. "We all sat down and said, right, can we let women in? We looked at our constitution and it said we can." Also in 2016, the Tuggeranong Men's Shed was reportedly split over allowing women to join. Tuggeranong Men's Shed President Jim Thornton said 2 women with excellent credentials wanted to join the group, and with no official male-only policy, the committee could have approved the members but chose to put it to a vote after some members rejected the suggestion. Now, I checked the Tuggeranong Men's Shed website and couldn't find any mention of women being allowed, but there was a video produced in 2017 with some footage of the place, and there aren't any women in it, so who knows what they've decided. And just last year, this story emerged from the Oxenford Men's Shed, opening its doors to female members. Oxenford Men's Shed Secretary Les Chapman said an overwhelming majority of members had backed the motion with a special condition to partly appease a very important interest group, their wives. I think there's a shed in New South Wales where the women go at the same time as the men, but that won't be happening here. A couple of us will need to be there to teach them how to handle the tools, but they'll be using the shed on the days we don't. Some of us have wives or partners, and we don't want them thinking we're at the shed hanging out with other women. Well, you might want to rethink this marketing strategy. This guy looks like he's very keen to hang out with other women. But seriously, the decision whether or not to include women is entirely up to local clubs, according to the Australian Men's Shed Association. So with that background, let's have a listen to some of the arguments for and against men's sheds being men only from both men and women that Bettina Arndt interviewed recently.
I would fight all the way not to have women come into the shed, and always will.
Cool.
Not because I don't like anything about women, because I don't agree that it's the right thing for men that need that help and mateship.
What do you think about this, Michael, this whole issue of women in men's sheds?
I'd leave.
That's good.
Women ever came in the shed, I'd be out the door.
Women are great communicators. Men are not. Men will talk to each other under the right circumstances, and we like to use men's sheds. For that reason, it's the most valuable point we're here, is so that when men are on their own and they can open up and talk to each other, we can do it. But at the point where we
Fly.
fly.
Fly. Very good Australian thing to have a fly in the middle of our conversation.
Yeah.
So, women change the conversation between men.
Yes.
Yeah.
They won't open up. As I said, women are great communicators.
Yeah.
You know, men just keep to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, over a cup of tea or a quiet sit somewhere, and things come out and you can deal with situations.
Can you give me some of the example of things that have come out in your shed?
In our shed, obviously without naming names, but we do have members that have been in a really bad stage with depression, and the shed has helped lift them out of that. One guy that's been through a heck of a lot in his life started coming to the shed, and to see the change that's happened to him over time as he comes out of depression and feels value in the community again, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
To just stand back and witness that, it gives you a feeling of, wow, that's what we're all about, men's health, and to see them come through like that and shine is just fantastic. And we've seen it on 3 different occasions.
I came here 8 years ago as an immigrant to the country, retired, so I don't meet anybody at work, and it's extremely difficult to make friends.
Yep.
And I must say the shed has been wonderful in that respect. All people in the same sort of situation, tired, and I just find it such a safe haven to come to as an immigrant.
Would it change for you if women were here?
I believe it would.
And how?
Even though I've got a wonderful marriage and I love my wife dearly, I think that it would detract from the whole purpose of the shed. And
Which is what for you?
I think it was said earlier, one wouldn't feel comfortable, you wouldn't make a joke and, take the mickey out of somebody like that, because you always have to be on your toes.
Yeah.
So I believe it would change completely.
Yeah.
And I think that this is one thing that should stay sacrosanct, and we should be allowed to do this on our own.
What does your wife do? Does she like you coming
Well,
here?
she absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
She's always been scared that when you sit at home alone and you're not doing anything, you're not getting active, you sort of you get into a slump.
Yeah.
If you don't have anybody to talk to. So yeah, I look forward to my shed days. I love it.
Men's shed to me was somewhere to hide away from the problems that I've got, but at the same time being able to discuss them with other people that were like-minded. And it's not something you can do when women are around or in front of women. You might want to talk about depression and how has it affected anybody else, and that's not something I'm comfortable. Even probably you discuss it with a doctor because you have to, but it's not something you want to discuss in front of women.
Yeah. What do we do if we're in the around? I mean, how do we change that conversation?
Just by being present,
Yeah.
just by being in the general area, there's certain things you wouldn't want women to overhear.
Can you give me an example?
Well, when you want to discuss personal issues relating to men's health or men's sexual issues, you just wouldn't want to discuss it if you were thinking that there was a woman that could overhear or comment about it, and it's something you're not comfortable with. Whereas, in this shed we've got a doctor or an ex-surgeon, great bloke, very easy to talk to.
What about just the sort of chat, the friendly chatter between men, which changes if women are around, doesn't it?
Well, you can't tell good jokes, you can't have sexual banter, you can't make crass comments.
We're also always taking the piss out of each other.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You've got to have, one of the things we say is you have to be thick-skinned to join the men's shed, and that's only because we take the piss out of each other, because it's a way of letting off steam, it's a way of being friendly, mateship, and that's not something that you're going to do with a woman. You cannot.
My wife especially, by finding as she gets older, I cannot crack a joke of any description at her. She takes it personally. She just turns around and says, oh, is that what you think of me?
Yeah.
And it's just got nothing to do with that.
So it's a different sort of conversation.
Oh, a different conversation because they take it personally and they don't seem to be able to identify that it's a bit of fun and you can come back and hit me with whatever you like and I'll love it.
And isn't
It's
that
just
what
a different psyche.
Now, the current chairman of the Australian Men's Shed Association, Kevin Callanan, has a somewhat different take on the importance of male culture.
the original men